Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we turn the spotlight towards Pakistan, where trouble is brewing because after the UK, US, Saudi Arabia and some other nations issuing advisories asking their citizens, nationals not to step out, and especially Saudi Arabia and the others saying always carry your passport and beware because there is a high alert in this region of Islamabad and further, there is a shocking video that's now come to light, and CNN News18, courtesy our investigations editor Manoj Gupta, has accessed this video, and this is an exclusive that we are putting out. And what this shows is that the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan have their sights with the Pak Parliament. Have a look at this video. This video shows we are coming. Just let's play out the full video if we can. And we have, this is what is a Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan TTP member shooting this video with the Pakistan Parliament in sight. They've just zoomed out of that. And it is going to a particular note that's handed to him, which says in Urdu and in English, "We are coming." That's the Pak Parliament in Islamabad. That's what he's pointing to, this Tehreek-e-Taliban cadre. And the next shot, they're showing, "We are coming." That is what is put out in this video, ladies and gentlemen. A shocking video that's come to light, which clearly shows that the TTP are only upping the intensity of their attack. Now, this is another headache for Pakistan, and this is what the TTP has also come out and claimed. They have countered all that the Pakistan army has turned around and said. They have said that the Pak army's Banu operation was a failed operation. They also say General Asim Munir is America's puppet, the new army chief. They will continue to fight against the Pakistani security forces. The Pak army is spreading fake information about win or triumph in Waziristan. They have also claimed, and this is interesting, that the Baloch Liberation Army, or the BLA, has pledged allegiance to the TTP in the Makran region. And they will continue jihad and also work to implementing Sharia in Pakistan. So this is the Taliban agenda, which is now coming to light. Now, even as the TTP has claimed that the BLA or the Baloch are coming out and giving them support in the Makran region, there is trouble which is happening in Balochistan with the Haq Do movement intensifying. They are actually fighting. The protests are surging again in Gwadar in Balochistan. 20 protesters were actually detained. You can see these visuals. Lots and lots of people are turning out and protesting against the Pakistani army and the establishment. We just go full screen. We'll try and go full screen with these visuals and play up the NAT if you can. This is all in Gwadar in Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen.
मां हिंदुस्तान वाले मर्द में डाला, मां इंडिया मर्द, मां हिंदू है डाला, मां मुसलमान जबरदस्ती हालत खराब कर गए, जबरदस्ती हालत खराब कर गए. मौला ने कारकुन ने एल्डेड मौला कारकुन एल्डेड.
Saying they are heckling the personnel, they are firing in the air, and there are huge Haq Do protests that are happening. So what are these Haq Do protests? Let's try and understand that. These Haq Do movement is actually intensifying. The protests are surging in Gwadar, in Balochistan. Let's try and put out the details. Yes, so the protests are surging again in Gwadar in Balochistan. 20 protesters were detained by the Frontier Corps and the police trying to attempt to arrest Tehreek Chief Maulana Hidayatur also failed. The protesters attacked the Frontier Corps and police personnel in Gwadar. Coastal highway was completely blocked by the protesters. Police continued to shell and shoot the protesters, and internet and electricity has been completely shut. And the protesters are demanding a ban on illegal fishing. So one issue after the other is being used, where once again you can even see, let's have a look at these videos where the FC Frontier Corps personnel are being brazenly heckled. Now these are the visuals. A state of flux in Pakistan. And is it hurtling fast towards balkanization? Are we going to see huge amount of internal strife and a civil war? Let's try and go across to our guest this evening. And what does it mean for us in this region? Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, former GOC 15 Corps with us, Professor Brahma Chellaney, Strategic Affairs expert with us, and Bilal Baloch, journalist also with us. Namaste. Thank you very, very much everybody for joining us here on the right stand. General KJS Dhillon, what would you make of what is happening over in Pakistan? For a TTP cadre with his foot up on the parapet and then zoom in and zoom out and saying we are coming. This is happening in Islamabad. We are also seeing use of fishing rights and the Baloch civic unrest. There is huge civic unrest in Sindh. The BLA saying we'll work with the TTP. There seems to be armed movement against the Pakistani forces. Your reading of what's happening there?
See, reading is very clear and it's on the wall, and it was on the wall for so many decades. If you remember what was famously said, if you have snakes in your backyard, and you don't expect only them to bite the enemy per se. So that is what is coming true. Call it Taliban Pakistan, call it Taliban Pakistan, call it Afghanistan Taliban, call it only Taliban, call it ISKP, call it by any name. The mother organization is ISI and the Pakistan Army. And they are the one who have been nurturing this terrorist over the decades for their own goals, either in Afghanistan or in Kashmir, at times even in Iran, and then to suppress the Baloch freedom movement within their own country. So all this is now coming out, and it is coming out nice and proper for the army. Coupled with this, the economic state which Pakistan is in, the political instability which is going on in Pakistan, the diplomatic failures on all fronts of theirs, and Pakistan military getting a bloody nose in the internal strife, may it be in KPK, may it be in Balochistan. Recently we saw there 6 casualties happening, including an officer. And imagine a few days ago, a terrorist had been brought into an anti-terrorist station for interrogation, and they overpower, and they kidnap the interrogators. So this is all what's happening. You talked about Makran region and the Makran coast. Makran coast, Gwadar and all are very sensitive areas for Pakistan's security. Things are not going on well for the Pakistan security, for Pakistan's stability, and that's a very, very worrying factor. TTP is coming out very, very strong, and coupled with this, what's happening on the Afghan border, where Pakistan Army and the Afghan Taliban soldiers are having skirmishes on daily basis. Things are not well, and I'll come back after my other co-panelists have spoken.
Yeah, things are not well, but your reading, is this now going to move into a full-blown armed struggle against the Pakistani establishment, Professor Brahma Chellaney, and what does that mean for India and this region?
Well, first, as General Dhillon pointed out, Pakistan has long drawn specious distinctions between good and bad terrorists and between good Taliban and bad Taliban. But just as there are no good terrorists, there are no moderate Taliban. The Pakistani Taliban, or TTP, is the Pakistan military's nemesis, while the Pakistani military, including the ISI agency, remain in bed with the Afghan Taliban. And Pakistan is still playing the good terrorist versus the bad terrorist game. So it's reaping what it has sowed. It is facing rising attacks by the TTP. Pakistan is now urging the Afghan Taliban regime to crack down on the TTP's cross-border sanctuaries and activities. But the Afghan Taliban are wary of cracking down on the TTP, fearful of creating more enemies at a time, when they already face growing resistance to their rule from Afghan nationalists, including in the Panjshir Valley. So things are getting really hot now for the Pakistani military, especially in the tribal areas. And Balochistan is an added concern, given the fact that there is a long-standing resistance to Pakistani rule in Balochistan, which is the largest province of Pakistan. But the native Baloch have never been content with the situation there, and they have, in fact, there is growing discontent, and this has ominous implications for China's investments in Balochistan, in Gwadar, and in fact, China is eyeing building a naval base next to Gwadar. So this has long-term strategic implications both for Pakistan and for China. And I think that India needs to do what it can to keep Pakistan bottled up in domestic mess. Because if Pakistan is stable and thriving, it's going to create more trouble for India. If you look back to the 1980s when Indira Gandhi was in office, in the first half of the 1980s, she did a good job keeping Pakistan bottled up in its internal affairs. And I think we need to take a page from that experience and ensure that that Pakistan remains preoccupied with its internal troubles.
One wonders if it is also not just Pakistan but also China, because like you said, China has sunk its teeth deep into Pakistan in terms of its investments, and this strife does not bode well for the Chinese, who are also bleeding. They're also going through huge amount of financial strife, internal distress, COVID resurgence. So there's a lot of pressure on the pockets, very, very deep pockets of the Chinese, but even there seems to be a problem. Let's just quickly put the timeline in place. November 22nd, around that time, is when talks fell through and the TTP blamed the Pakistani army of going back on their words. Before I bring in Bilal Baloch, quickly taking you through this timeline, ladies and gentlemen. Suicide bombing attack in Balochistan happens, 3 dead, 22 are injured. This is on the 30th of November. 2nd December, the Pakistan head of mission to Kabul escapes an assassination bid. That happens. 3rd December, a police van is attacked in Nowshera where 3 policemen are killed. 6th of December, police vehicle is attacked in Dikhan district and 2 policemen are injured. 10th of December, a hand blast at a shop in Balochistan, 1 killed and 7 injured. 10th of December, Afghan border forces open fire on civilians in Chaman, 6 people are killed. Then again, there is another hand blast, and 14th of December there is a suicide bombing attack on Pakistan Army, 3 killed and 12 injured. 18th of December, 4 cops are killed in an overnight attack in Lucky Marwat. 19th of December, suicide bomb attack in Waziristan, IB inspector and 2 civilians are killed. 20th of December, Levy's personal shot, dead in Kharan. Then you also have 23rd, where the head constable of Islamabad police dies after a blast. And 24th of December, 4 army personnel died after a convoy was attacked and it left a soldier killed in the border town of Chaman. 5 security personnel also killed in Chaman. And then, of course, 25th of December, 6 security personnel killed in Kahan, 17 people injured. Bilal Baloch, there is an increasing step-by-step escalation of the attack and the intensity of what is happening. And how would you read this coming together of the TTP and the BLA?
Thank you, Anand, for giving me opportunity. First of all, I would like to clear one thing very clearly through this platform of your media. There is no any truth. These are all biased and the fake propaganda of the Pakistan army that BLA or any other Baloch separatist movement with the Taliban. This is a totally ridiculous claim by Pakistani occupied media. You can say Pakistani media, GHQ media in Pakistan. First of all, you have to see where they are claiming. They are claiming the division of Quran.
Yes.
If they can claim the division of Quetta and some other division, there are some Pashtun are living, I can believe myself as a journalist, not as a Baloch. But you have to see Makran. Makran division, there are the 3 districts. Panjgur, Kach, and Guhada. It's impossible there. Baloch separatist groups, Baloch freedom fighter, they are not fighting for jannat or paradise or something else. They are fighting for their motherland. And if you compare with the Musters, Taliban and the TTP, they have a totally different ideology. They are fighting for the extremism in the religious belief. So you have to understand these people are the people from the Pakistan army, like the other professor said. I will tell you one thing, you have to understand why this is happening. In fact, there are the 2 groups in Pakistan army. Do you see when this new chief of army staff, this is also after the Quran, Asim Munir came in the power, things become very changed. You can see this.
Yes.
And the guy who was supporting these all Muster, he retired. He was the chief of I mean the DGISI
Yes.
and the corps commander on that area. So all shit and all monsters coming from the north side. And these are the same guys. They have been proxies of the Pakistan army. They can use them against your country in India, in Kashmir, in Afghanistan against United States and other allies. So you have to understand this is totally ridiculous claim of the Pakistani media and the Pakistani journalists, whatever is saying.
So you're
people are
saying that the
about
TTP and the BLA cannot come together, especially in this
No,
Makran
it's
region?
impossible.
And this is
I'm telling you,
factionalism
I
within
can-
the Pakistani army itself, which is now being
Exactly,
which
there
is
a
manifest.
true group. They just wanted to diverse the scenario and the thinking of the people of the Pakistan and the other side of the Pakistan. I mean the European and the Western
But
countries.
the other aspect which stands out, Bilal Baloch, you may have a point, and I'm going to ask General Dhillon, do you agree, disagree with what Bilal Baloch's observation is, that this is actually factionalism within the Pakistan establishment itself? The other thing is that the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan have never lost the support of the Taliban itself. And that entire Waziristan area, Pashtuns have a particular sentiment, and they believe that the Pakistani army has been brutal there. And they have committed acts of genocide, just like the Baloch believe that what the Pakistani army has done in Balochistan. How would you read this? Should we look at it in isolation? Is this a Pakistan internal army establishment strife? Or is there more, that the TTP is now equipped with kind of modern weapons which the Americans left behind?
We have to see the whole thing in totality. I agree with Mr. Baloch to an extent, whereas the Baloch freedom fight is a very sort of a dignified and a principled fight for the freedom of the motherland. What Taliban or any type of Taliban is indulging is in terms of the way we can call it jihad, and like he said, the hurs and jannat and other things. Yeah, there is ideological difference, and there is a difference, perceptible difference. Now, what he is trying to say is that Pak establishment trying to demean or degrade the values which Baloch Liberation Army is fighting on, is trying to say that TTP is joining hands with Taliban. But I would also like to say here, changing of alignments, shifting of cadres, getting out of one particular group and forming another group or aligning with another group is a very done thing in Pakistan. Like some disgruntled jihadis of TTP went and made ISKP. So this alignments and realignments is a very, very done thing. And yes, that point I take. Makran Coast, Gwadar area and all the districts in the south, yes, there the presence of Pashtuns per se is not as pronounced as in the areas towards the north of Balochistan. So that point I take, but realignment within the terrorist is a very done thing. And coming down to your question, with the TTP now increasing the weapon system, modern weapon systems which were left behind by the US in Afghanistan, getting into their fold, and Pakistan establishment, that is primarily ISI, and Pakistan army not able to control them. If you recollect when General Musharraf was in China, and one of his intercepts with the DGISI or the talk with DGISI was intercepted by our intelligence agencies, in which he had made a statement which went something like this, कि जिहादियों की टूटी तो हमारे हाथ में हम कभी भी मरोड़ सकते हैं. That means we can close the tap on the jihadi movements anytime we want. Now gone are those days. उस टाइम पे जो भी टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी उनकी टूटी ISI और पाकिस्तान आर्मी के हाथ में थी, एग्रीड. लेकिन आज they are free flowing tube wells which have got no control by ISI or the Pakistan army when it comes to controlling them per se. ये इनके अपने ही बनाए हुए लोग हैं, ये इनके अपने ही बनाई हुई organizations हैं which are now turned against them. And coupled with this, I will come back to that point again. The economic failure, the diplomatic failure, the political instability. Mr. Imran Khan, the backyard being KPK, the problem happening there, the new army chief coming in, making tall claims which are contested by the TTP, Mr. General Bajwa still having some hold in the establishment. All these are very, very hot mix. We need to understand the Pakistan internal turmoil with a different lens. It's not an easy country to understand.
Not just that, we don't even know whether the establishment itself understands the turmoil, internal turmoil within Pakistan. So that's where it is.
Absolutely.
But is this entity fast hurtling towards balkanization? That remains another larger question, given the way things are flowing in that part of the world. I have run out of time, so I thank all our panelists. Thank you very much for your insights. Clearly a state of flux over in Pakistan. We wind up this edition of The Right Stand. Stay with us. Brass Tacks follows.